'tis the season to drive to a place in the suburbs, park your car in any one of thousands of parking stalls, and shop for high-end consumer goods on a festively decorated fake main street. All about lifestyle centers, coming up next. This is City Nerd, weekly content on cities and transportation. Viewer-suggested topics are good, but I've done too many top 10 or bottom 10 lists recently, and I gotta change it up. I did touch on today's topic in my video on simulated urbanism. You know, all the places Americans go to experience urbanism and walkability because they rarely have it in the places where they actually live. But it's worth a deeper look at this particular phenomenon. First, let's define what we're talking about. The International Council of Shopping Centers, yes, that's apparently a real thing, defines a lifestyle center as an open-air retail format located near an affluent residential neighborhood. The term appears to originate from Dan Pogue and Terry McEwen, who were developers in the Memphis, Tennessee region. They opened what's thought to be the first lifestyle center in 1987, the Shops of Saddle Creek in Germantown, Tennessee. I gotta be honest though, I have a bit higher standard for what I would call a true lifestyle center, and the Shops at Saddle Creek just isn't it. It's more of a strip mall that just happens to have a Lululemon store, so this isn't really what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is a retail shopping environment that replicates a main street, or better yet, like a downtown grid. The example I used in my simulated urbanism video was the Grove in LA, just outside Beverly Hills. Vibrant, pedestrian-only main street with tons of amenities, alfresco dining everywhere, and only the finest of fine dining establishments. But I wanted to do a deeper dive, so I went to, well, I don't know if this is Vegas's premier lifestyle center. There are several to choose from, but it's the one I've had locals request I give the city nerd treatment to, so that's what's happening. It's Town Square, Las Vegas in unincorporated Clark County. I'll come back and give you the regional geographic context, which is really important later in the video, but I kind of wanted to work this one from inside to out today. And it is the holidays. I had some shopping to do anyway, so we'll just go right to the heart of Town Square. If you've seen basically any other part of Greater Las Vegas, you can understand why this might be a popular spot. Outside of the Strip, where not very many locals go unless they're employed there or have visitors in town, Town Square may have the best walkability anywhere in Vegas. And it's popular. Look, I'm not telling you people come here for authenticity. This is definitely an ersatz Main Street environment, and everybody knows that. But let's take a closer look at the design elements that make people flock to a place like this. You've got a central plaza with low-slung buildings and lots of outside seating. And yeah, it is December, but this is Vegas, so alfresco is still viable. Town Square does things with public space, well, quasi-public space, that you generally won't see anywhere else in Vegas because actual streets like this don't really exist in Vegas. Oh, one thing you're gonna notice throughout this video is airplanes. When I show you a satellite view of this place, it's all gonna make sense. Surrounding the plaza, you've got a grid of streets that faithfully recreate a very particular idea of the urban realm. The streets have a narrow envelope, tight turning radii, speed humps, really all the features you want for an extremely comfortable pedestrian environment. And let's look at the fixtures. We've got fountains, benches, cute street signs, cute lighting fixtures, vaguely Parisian-looking information kiosks, street trees, flower beds, fake grass, doggy bag stations for when your pet uses the fake grass, and lots and lots and lots of trash cans. It's a density of trash cans I don't think you'll find anywhere else in Vegas. And then the buildings, which are all new, of course, are kind of an important part of the scene setting, in the same way that Main Street USA at Disneyland is designed to evoke a certain longing for a lost world. These are always interesting though. The kind of artificial variation in the forms and architectural styles is really standard for a lifestyle center. Kind of ridiculous almost. You've got Art Deco, Southwestern stucco, Mediterranean-ish, Cheesecake Factory, surrealist maximalism. I compare it to the way McMansions have weird, overcomplicated roof lines that are supposed to create, I don't know, some misguided sense of visual interest. These are mostly real upper stories though, not a facade. And it's not housing, which you will see sometimes in lifestyle centers, but offices. And the tenants are funny, given how car-oriented all of this ultimately is. Personal injury attorneys and traffic engineering consultants. You can't make this up. All of this is consistent with the way these places market themselves. It's all about aspiration. What they want the consumer to feel when they spend time there. They want you to feel elevated, literally more urbane than your normal self. They want to flatter your self-perception, encourage a sense that you're out and about in the world, communing with other sophisticates. There's no obvious theme to the design since the architectural styles are all over the map, but you could say the thread that runs through all of these kinds of places is just urbanism itself. Okay, so we've established that lifestyle centers are artificial urban environments that are vaguely pleasant if you don't think about it too much. And bottom line, it's all designed to encourage people to hang out and spend money. So of course, we have to explore the storefronts of Town Square. Let's start with dining establishments, which are numerous. By the way, generally, if you're in Google Maps and you want to find lifestyle centers, none of them are actually called lifestyle centers. So the next best thing to do is just search Yard House, and a bunch of lifestyle centers will pop right up. I'm not even a hater. It's actually a useful pit stop when you're in the middle of a grueling day of on-location filming. There is mall food court type food, like Chinese cuisine of questionable authenticity. But Town Square is classy, so there's also Chinese cuisine of unquestionable authenticity. And there's Vietnamese cuisine of, okay, can we just pump the brakes on the clever names for pho restaurants? It's getting out of hand. Funnel Cake Cafe. This cannot be a restaurant concept. You can't just build a whole menu around state fair food. I mean, if this is actually viable, I'm gonna start like a deep fried Snickers cafe. There are a lot of stores that just sell merchandise, but the storefronts that are really interesting to me are the ones that just sell an experience. Stores that charge you for the privilege of experiencing profound claustrophobia and anxiety. Stores that facilitate opportunities to connect deeply with our shared humanity, or that represent the utter debasement of civilization, depending on your perspective. And then there's Sin City Smash, and I could not figure out what this was, so I had to Google it. Turns out it's Las Vegas's premier rage room and luxury axe throwing venue. Look, I understand getting inebriated and then hurling sharp objects is a time-tested human social activity. But I've probably been a bit tuned out because I missed the whole smash room thing. So for 50 bucks a head, you can go caveman on like an old fax machine, Office Space style. Or you can get the high-end premium smash, perfect for date night. I don't know, I'm just not convinced this is promoting a healthy relationship with everyday objects. Esports, didn't this just used to be called a video game arcade? The professionalization of video game playing is, I don't know if it's a net positive for society. Tabletop games though, all day long. And there's definitely an 18-plex. You know, I think a lot about the future prospects for certain kinds of brick and mortar establishments and what it means for the future of the urban realm. And movie theaters are probably example one. Let me know if you want a video that expands on that idea. Look, here's the overall point though. The lifestyle center, with its quaint plazas, its pedestrian-centered design, its main streets with bustling storefronts and no building setbacks, it's been the dominant mode in shopping center development for the last 20 years. So one message you could take away from all this is urbanists have already won the argument. This is the future we wanted, and we got it, right? Well, not exactly. Every part of a lifestyle center is designed to give the appearance of public space, but it's not public at all. It's tightly controlled, and if you don't believe it, meet the town square shopper's code of conduct. Don't hang out in groups larger than 3. Don't be boisterous. Don't be a teenager. Wear proper clothing, yikes. So yeah, there are a variety of pretexts they can use to 86 you from town square. Or really, they probably don't need a pretext at all. You could say that what a lifestyle center is selling is a totalitarian version of urbanism, like a walkable miniature plutocracy. It exists to facilitate sales of high-end goods and experiences to people who can afford them, flattering the consumer's sense of their own urbanity, literally, while keeping the riffraff out. Okay, let's zoom out a bit and start talking about transportation. All of this micromanaged urbanism exists within a hermetically sealed environment, completely surrounded by a parking moat. And the acres of parking are in themselves loathsome, but it also means town square doesn't make any real connections with the surrounding community. It's in a freeway interchange quadrant. Freeway access is always a high priority for a shopping center like this. And there's really no relationship to the land uses on the north and east sides of town square. And just in case you're looking at this and thinking, this isn't enough parking, worry not. There are 3 different parking structures. Town Square spared no expense in making it as convenient as possible to drive. Weirdly, the street parking within Town Square itself is metered, on the theory, I guess, that people will pay for the convenience of parking right in front of their destination. Even if their destination is, say, this extremely wholesome, all-American musical entertainment venue, where people definitely aren't gonna get intoxicated before they get back in their cars. Okay, this is the 3rd in a series of videos on heinous land uses. And if you feel like you've gotten this far and I still haven't really made the case that a lifestyle center is a heinous land use, well, I've got more on the abysmal transportation situation and some closing thoughts on the supreme irony of this kind of simulated urbanism. First though, quick reminder to drop a like on the video and consider subscribing if you're into hyper-urbanist simulated environments that you have to drive to. Connect on the apps and consider joining Patreon if you want to support the channel directly. And sub count check. You guys, this is it. The channel now has enough subscribers to fill the big house, Michigan Stadium in Ann Arbor, home of the Wolverines. The undefeated Wolverines, well, at least until January 9th when they get waxed by Georgia. This is the last stadium I'm doing. There are larger ones in like India and North Korea, but you can't get good aerial imagery of them. Okay, let's zoom out a bit further so you can get a bit more land use context on Town Square. I mentioned airplanes before. Town Square is legitimately a great place for plane spotting if you're into it. You can literally hang out on the central plaza, looking up at the sky every 90 to 120 seconds and refreshing FlightAware on your phone while you're munching on like a tricked out funnel cake. Yeah, look at the approach path for incoming passenger jets on the short runway at Harry Reid. And now you know why there's no housing here. Let's talk about transportation access. I mentioned the freeways. It's funny, this development is designed to be intimate and walkable, but also highly visible to people driving by at 60 miles an hour. The other 2 roads on the perimeter are Sunset Road to the north and Las Vegas Boulevard, or the Strip, to the east, and they're pretty strody. Las Vegas Boulevard is maybe the busiest arterial in the region, and it looks like, as a condition of development, the county required a flyover ramp for the northbound left into the shopping center, which is crazy to me. That is an expensive piece of hyper-car-oriented infrastructure. Like, you would usually see something like this at an airport or in a bad city building video game. Transit, Town Square is served by the city's busiest bus line, the unfortunately named Deuce. I'm not going to go on and on about the kind of transit they should have here because I've done it in other videos, but I would point out that just on the other side of I-215 is the future home of the Las Vegas station for Brightline West, just huge swaths of development-ready land. The Deuce doesn't come down this far though. It takes a left on Warm Springs and finishes its route at the South Strip Transit Terminal. Vegas, we have got to get ready for high-speed rail. Pedestrian access, pretty atrocious. From the south, there's an overpass where the Strip crosses I-215, and it's about as uncomfortable and unpleasant as overpasses get. And if you need to cross Las Vegas Boulevard, it's a 2-stage crossing, so run. I actually biked to Town Square to shoot all this footage, and the bike network in the area is basically non-existent. And when you get to the shopping center, instead of having abundant staple racks all over the quaint streets like an actual city would have, there's like a single wave rack by each of the parking structures. If it was a real town, Town Square would not be in danger of getting a Platinum Bicycle-Friendly Community Award anytime soon. Okay, this was just a single case study, and in case you're thinking, wow, Vegas really is the worst, or the best, depending on your feelings about, I don't know, urbanism as a fascist control mechanism. Well, lifestyle centers are everywhere, and I mean everywhere. Look, I don't mean to be a killjoy. I had fun at Town Square. For a certain type of person, it fills their need for community and a sort of third place. Peel back the layers though, and it's a perversion of those things. It's a self-contained, hyper-walkable environment surrounded by parking facilities whose location depends on abundant freeway access with not much thought at all to how anyone gets there by any other mode. Look, if I sound cranky, I apologize, sort of, but can you blame me? You know, the rise of the indoor shopping mall in the mid to late 20th century happened about the same time as the decline of our downtowns and main streets, and you don't have to squint too hard to see a connection. Well, now it's 2022, and shopping centers have come full circle, to the point where they're designed to be simulacrums of the authentic urban environments they helped destroy. Are lifestyle centers better than strip malls and big box stores? Probably in some ways. I guess my glass half full take is they really are evidence that people will gravitate to well-designed urban spaces if you provide them. And they really do hunger for walkability and places where cars are tamed. And commercial real estate developers understand this, or there wouldn't be so many lifestyle centers all over North America. Just something to keep in mind when we're spending money retrofitting our actual main streets and our actual downtowns. Okay, and soapbox. Thanks for joining today, and thanks to the patrons for funding lunch at Town Square, which consisted of glorified sports bar grub and the quarterfinal victory for Argentina. The direct support does mean a lot to the channel. Keep the great topic suggestions coming. I'll be back with a new installment next week, and I'll see you then.